Well, it did arrive today. The little box I was waiting on. Part of it had come even before we went to Disney. And I'd shown this box once before and mentioned it, but I didn't want to say what was in it at the time. Now I can take the piece of paper off the top of it. I guess that doesn't say a whole lot more to you. Because this is the companion video transmitter and ground station receiver from, I think it's I don't know, Corporation. I got this part as part of a bundled package because I wanted this part. And this is the A4 Mini gimbal. I wanted it for the Anaconda. This is the actual product. I want it to hang upside down underneath the front of the Anaconda. And in looking at it as it's come in the door now, it is going to fit on this plate. I mean, I'll have to do a little modifying of the holes and stuff. This is that plate underneath that I hadn't installed yet because I was waiting on this part to see where these mounting holes are. Now I know where the mounting holes are. I can mount it. And the Anaconda will have a 4K digital stabilized gimbal hanging down from the front of it, which is both exciting and also not so much. I've never worked with this system, totally new to me, so there's going to be a steep learning curve on this. Now, the past week or so, you actually saw the transmitter and the big old antennas for this system out of this box. You saw it laid out here on the cutting pad as the video transmitter for the electronics before I even started my electronics video. And this morning or last night, you saw these big old antennas hanging out the front of the Anaconda. Much like that. I still haven't found out where I'm going to place them. A lot of figuring to be done on this, but I'm pretty much up to the point of doing this video transmitter. It's a hell of a video transmitter, isn't it? It's supposed to be Ethernet into the ground station. The thing about this system is it's supposed to do 4K digital video, telemetry, and even RC control back to the ground station at 30 kilometers. Now, there are some negatives to this system. I'll show you here on the site where they sell it. And here's their main site. I just went up looking for a gimbal. I've got 3 or 4 of them over there in a box in the drawers. They're from 10 years ago. When you bought a gimbal, you got the gimbal motors, and you got all sorts of little 3D printed parts or Darylin plastic parts. You had to glue it together and do everything. You had a little board. I got them all put together, but I never got any of them working exactly right because most of them were for cameras I didn't own, high dollar GoPro cameras at the time. So I just went up one day and looked for cheap pre-assembled gimbals and saw this one. So I grabbed it. 4K, 8 megapixel, 320 degree yaw axis rotation, 6 times digital zoom, upside down mode, compatible with Ardu Pilot and PX4. It's not compatible with iNav yet. You can use it on iNav. There's some features. You'll have a horizon drift that's not correctable. It is correctable in rchelp if you feed telemetry data to the gimbal from your flight controller. Like I say, I've got a lot to learn. Got Ethernet, HDMI, CVBS video output. There are some negatives to it. For instance, it's the A8, not the A4 like I stated in the first part of the video. Such be life. Some of the negatives to it is the pitch angle is 135 degrees to plus 45 degrees. It won't go straight down. It only goes down 135 degrees, so you can't look straight down with it. That's a negative to me. It's not 360, it's 320. You can only rotate 160 degrees right, 160 degrees left. And the biggest problem with it that I see is it's only roll 30 degrees. So I think rchelp for planes is preset at 45 degree roll in stabilized modes. So if you pull the sticks all the way to one side or the other, the plane will only roll to 45 degrees in a turn. That'll be 15 degrees further than this gimbal will move, so you'll lose your stabilization. Like I say, negatives, but weren't really enough to kill me. Also, the 4K is only at 25 frames per second, but a lot of people do this 24 frame stuff, so 2K at 30 frames per second, nothing at 60. Don't consider that a bad problem, but a little bit of a negative. Let's see. What else can I say about it real quick in this video? You see here 320 degrees of yaw, not 360. But with the camera, the rear of the airplane can be seen at 160 degrees because of the field of the camera. So yeah, got a nose mode with it, it even oriented in a third position instead of being straight up or straight down. It's with it fixed to the nose of something and the gimbal coming out the front. This says upside down mode, but it shows the thing in a right side up figure. rchelp PX4 got some pretty wild stuff with this. Like I say, I'm just learning it. I'm hoping I'll be able to control it every way I want to with a regular TX16S controller, and I don't have to do the HearLink stuff like this. Now this has a lot to it, but that's another expense I don't want to go through if I don't have to. And Mavlink also transmits Mavlink, rchelp compatible again. I've said that a couple of times. Well, they call this upside down mode with it setting with the gimbal up and the control features that way. So this must be the way it's normally. This is the right side up mode to them, I guess. Who knows? I just like the fact that it'll stabilize itself and gyro flow will work even better. Now this is that transmitter I showed you with the gimbal connected to it, which I've never done. There's OSD inside this. That means the H743 OSD and camera connections won't be used. This is hooking it straight into one of this company's flight controllers, which I chose not to buy because I didn't think it had enough USB ports, UART ports for me. Here it again is being shown with S-bus signal coming out of the video transmitter to control the gimbal. Here it is with both flight controller and the video transmitter. This device right here is an AI module that lets you track, what's it say, cars, trucks, boats, and humans easily. It keeps them in the center of the frame. It's almost like this thing is made for police. So when I went to order it, if we click on buy now, I think we can do that here. It's sold out now. Looks like I got the last one. Got it just before they went on Chinese New Year. So let's see here. No. Looking for where they talk about the not going to talk about it here. Lincoln controller. Okay. I bought the whole package, which contained this SYHM3, which was what you've seen in that box that came a week ago. This was a combo bundle. I bought this separately instead of as a full bundle. So I've got to learn how all of this works. That's that camera you saw sitting on the thing when I laid out the electronics that first day. Which I'm going to set it up on the bench and work with it before I even mount it in the Anaconda. This is that AI tracking module for multi-target recognition. That's another $324. I'm not buying that at this point. Again, you can start duplicating DJI a lot. Really pretty nice if you had this controller. This is a ground station smart controller. Don't know if I'll ever buy that or not. I want to see if it'll work with Radio Master's TX16S. I can get it working with that. This has a lot of features. The touch screen, do all sorts of things, zooming in on the thing. You could do two people with this. You could have a TX16S controlling the airplane and have a second operator controlling this, just doing the camera system. I don't know how much of all of that I will do. Because, like I say, I have never worked with this system at all before. Coming back to this, which is the video transmitter and ground receiver. Let's see here. It does remote control, telemetry, and video all in one at 30 kilometers. That's why in the first part of this, I didn't know if I was going to put the Dragon Link system in it or if I was going to use this to do the RC remote control as well as telemetry and video. I think right now, for starters, I'm going to try to start out slow and work up. I'm going to use the Dragon Link for telemetry and RC control and just use this for video. And then add in little things. Start doing the telemetry through this, because this hooks into, I don't know if they're going to show it here. Yeah, look at this. Look what they're showing right there. This hooks into that antenna tracker I've got behind me that I've been having trouble getting Mavlink data to. Even shows you the UART in the side of the ground station receiver for this video that goes straight to the antenna tracker. Notice the ports on here. You don't see a HDMI. You see a Ethernet where they talk about connecting those things into it. So there's a lot to learn on this. Here's the A8 Mini connected in. Of course, you will be doing, oh, this is the excuse me, this is the VTX they're showing right here. They're not showing the side with the fan on it. But as you can see, this thing is pretty darn complicated. It came with long range. I think they're pretty good from what I've seen so far. Antennas in addition to the rubber ducky antennas on top. I didn't get the Fly More combo. I just got this, which was the ground unit, the air unit, that funky camera, and the extra antennas, because I didn't know what I was buying. I bought this for starters just to have the gimbal. Then I got to looking at how this gimbal connects to anything, and it won't connect to that flight controller. Not the Maytech H743 wing. So, and here's where it talks about the Crossbow Mini antenna tracker and the high gain antennas that you can get for it. But see, it connects right in to the antenna tracker I've been having trouble with. So I'll be working this up over on the bench for quite a while before I start putting it in the airplane, in my humble opinion, because it's fairly complex. And I've never worked with it before. Nobody mentioned, aha, I know what that transmitter is I see there on that cutting surface for the electronics you're going to put in this. I know exactly what that transmitter is. Nobody said a word about that. Nobody said a word when they saw the antennas hanging out of the fuselage the past couple of days. You can't miss these two big old antennas. They're huge. So I haven't had any inputs from anybody to say, oh, I've used that before. You're going to have fun with that. This is talking about the video system here, not the camera itself. It's digital image, 30-kilometer range, 150 milliseconds latency. It has OSD, their OSD built in, so I'll have to learn another OSD. And then other things, I don't even know what they're talking about here. This says 1080, that's 60 frames per second. But I didn't see that the A8 gimbal camera, this one, could match that. I don't think it can. I think it's even in 1080. It doesn't. I think it only goes 30. But anyway, that's what I've kind of been hiding behind my back for the past week or two. Yeah, see, 1080 here just says it 30 frames per second. So it's quite unknown at this point. Now, I don't know if in the future I will have to be ordering something like this right here to go with it to get full function out of it. I pretty much know I would have to use something like this to get the tracking, if I bought the tracking module to go with it, which I don't plan on doing right now, and I don't plan on buying this at this point. Too expensive in my humble opinion. Not too sure how this would actually fly the airplane, but it claims it will. Boy, my phone's sitting right here. It's windy as hell today, and security cameras around the house are watching leaves blowing around and giving me all sorts of alarms. But anyway, I'm not going to say much more about this right now because I'm learning it. So that's the camera system I'm going to put on the Anaconda and hope it all works out. Going to be quite a chore. By the way, this part here says 15 kilometers digital transmission. That might be because this system doesn't work as well as the ground station I have, and also these antennas may not be changeable to the more long-range antennas. Not sure yet. So this is going to be kind of fun for me to learn all of this. Didn't find their autopilot to be that big of a problem. Here it is. It just really didn't have the number of UARTs that I was going to need, I think, with the rangefinder, etc., etc., etc. I'm getting to where I'm leaning towards switching over to a cube or an autopilot like this because of you don't have to make up cables. You buy pre-made cables with both ends on it that are, you just buy them in the length you need. You don't solder the pins on, which I'm getting tired of doing on the Maytech flight controllers. So something like this is getting kind of interesting to me. This doesn't going to tell us real quick. Oh, they have RTK GPSs. They're $300 a unit, and you use 2 of them. Plus, there's a ground station to the RTK setup, and you get centimeter positioning instead of a few meters like we're used to with the GPSs we use. But that's $600 in 2 GPS units. As you can see here, there's a telemetry 1 and telemetry 2, although they call it telemetry 4. Then here's one serial port or UART, and here's a second one. There is a CAN bus and an I2C, and this aux out. I don't know if that's another UART, but you see, I just didn't really have just didn't find a telemetry port for everything I wanted to hook to this thing, so I didn't order this as part of it and just make it all one big unit. Last thing I would say about it is if you did do the let's say link and controller, was that part of what I'm looking for? No. I forget where the RTK stuff was. Parts. That's the AI tracking module. Gimbal camera, optical pods. Excuse me. Here it is. This is the replacement for GPS modules, RTK type. And if you use dual modules, you get direction finding without a magnetic compass even. But you have to have 2 modules. And this shows you how you'd mount one module in the front or back or on one wing and the other wing, and with the separation of those two modules, that's how you get compass directions. Now the semi-problem with that is this big old mushroom antenna is part of the ground station you set up for this creature. Here's your dual RTK. Here's your talking about your base station that you have to have with it. You have to buy a second mobile to go with it. It's a 184 channel satellite, so you're going to hook up a lot of satellites with this creature. But this is going to run you about $1,000 just for this alone. So I found this whole company to be interesting when I only came in to purchase this. So I would have a gimbal on the front. I was hoping this would have a UART on it and I could hook it into the camera system on the H743 and do it like I'm doing the cameras I'm using right now, like the Walk Snell Moonlight that I just got. That's what I was going to put on the Anaconda, and I had ordered it already. And then I saw this. I said, this would just be beautiful hanging down on the front of the Anaconda. And it was a little more than $250, so twice the price of the Walk Snell, but then all sorts of additional parts started needed to be ordered with it, and I just got into the HM30 ground station and air unit. I'm going to try to make it work with. As you can see, this is the power, this is the Ethernet, this is control signals from UARTs and S-Bus. This thing uses S-Bus as part of its control system. So, going to be really, really wild setting this up. Going to be a lot of fun for me. Going to be banging my head against the wall from moment to moment because steep learning curve. But overall, I think in the end, I'll like it. Okay, I'm going to shut up. I've revealed my camera system now. You know what I was up to. The main electronics part of the build is fairly complete, except for hooking up all the cables to the flight controller. They're all in there now. Well, technically the rangefinder's not been put in the bottom of it yet. So the airframe itself is finished. The base flight electronics is in it. There may be an S-Bus signal that I have to bring out a secondary UART, another UART to control the movement of this gimbal, and a third UART to control the zoom and stuff on it. So I may have to use 3 UARTs out of that flight controller just to control this camera system. I don't know yet. That's one of the reasons all of this has been fairly up in the air till these pieces come in the door and I can start putting them together and making them work. Alright guys, thank you so much for all the help. This Anaconda, there's been little bumps in the road for me that you guys have really helped me out with. Like I say, last night the gentleman helped me out with a solution. I'm going to be putting rangefinders on the wings of some of my models over there because I'm not going to start out trying to auto line the Anaconda. It's just too big, too heavy. I've shown you that nose wheel scares the daylights out of me with that heavy battery right above it for a landing. I'm going to get some of the other models auto landing. I've got 3 of those rangefinders here already. I'm going to get some of those auto landing before I ever try an auto landing with the Anaconda, which means I'm going to have to manually land it
at first, which might be worse than even trying an auto landing because I'll probably screw it up, but we'll see. All right, I'll shut up. I'm really tired today. Thank you, guys.